I'm Rapaport Stereo Podcast, coming live and direct from Los Angeles, California. Rare guest.
Very rare.
Because I don't have guests often.
Really?
Carried up the hill myself. But I was like, I'm in LA, and in the podcast world, right now, Adam 22 is probably, at this moment, one of the most controversial, talked about, discussed, and most importantly, successful people in the podcast game. I did your podcast in 2019, and it was successful then, but things have gotten even bigger, better, and crazier for you. What's going on, my man?
I mean, I'm just in awe of you having multiple iced out Stars of David on you. That's
Got to do it.
I love it.
Got to do. Are you Jewish?
No. But right now, I'm kind of like, damn, I wish.
You wish you were Jewish.
Maybe I can marry in.
We could hook that up.
You got some candidates?
Yeah, I got some hookups. Host of the No Jumper podcast, co-host of Plug Talk.
Yep.
With your wife, who I want to get her name correctly. It's not Lena, it's Lena.
Lena.
I've been practicing that.
Armenian.
Okay, Lena. So she gets mad when you say Lena.
She doesn't get mad. She's so used to it that she just sort of rolls with it.
Yeah, I got you. My wife has a kind of a hard to pronounce name too, so she'll just be like, whatever. How are you, my man?
Excellent. Can't complain.
Your podcast, your history on your podcast, you've had your hair done
2 times.
twice.
Yeah.
You've gotten robbed
Okay.
on
yeah,
air,
yeah.
right? People have gotten robbed.
No, just me.
Just you.
And they didn't actually rob me. They attempted to, but
They attempted to rob you.
nothing was taken.
But somebody pulled a gun on you while you were doing the pod. Was it a gun? A knife or machete?
It ended up being a fake gun, but it seemed like a gun at the time.
Yes. And do you think it's funny? Because I remember when that happened, I was like, people were like, look at his face. He looks scared. I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do, is if you think you're getting robbed, whether you're on camera or not, if you think someone has a gun.
Yeah.
You've had fights, you've had controversies, you've had white supremacist beef, you've had literal you've broken hip hop artists, help break hip hop artists. You were the first one to tell me about the late Juice WRLD.
You were the first one to tell me about Zion Williamson.
Was I really?
Yeah, and you were shocked that I didn't know about him, and I think he was still in college at the time. And I don't think I thought about him from you telling me about him to the recent Mariah Mills scandal.
Has she ever been on your podcast?
No, but I've been in her DMs begging her to come on Plug Talk and but that was way before all this.
Before this, you were looking to get on.
Yeah, and then I doubled back once all this broke, and I was like, okay, now we really need to work together.
She's not doing it.
Nah, she left the real porn game.
When you're okay, let me just get to it. All right, so your podcast with your wife Lena, Plug Talk. How does it work? And when did it start? And what was the sort of idea of it?
It was almost 2 years ago. There was this company that was hollering at me, wanting me to start a sort of like premium adult podcast with them, but they wanted to do it in a much more cheesy way from my perspective, where they wanted us to do, a podcast where there would be a little bit of topless action and that kind of thing. And me and my girl were talking about it, and as we talked about it, we're like, well, why are we going to give this company 30% when they're not even having the same vision as us? Because we wanted to do something much more explicit where we did real sex as part of it. We thought that anything else would be kind of weak. So yeah, we put it all together ourselves. We've been doing it for about 2 years. We actually conceptualized it during her pregnancy, which slowed us down like crazy because we didn't want to shoot while she was right in the middle of everything, But yeah, we basically have a different girl on every week. We interview them, and then we sleep with them. And sometimes we switch it up a little bit where we'll interview a couple, and then the couple will, or whatever. Sometimes once in a blue moon, the girl doesn't do scenes with other guys, so they'll do a girl-girl scene with my girl and the girl. But for the most part, that's the idea, yeah.
And is everything sort of planned out, or is it up in the air? Or if you have Jane X on there, do you know beforehand if she's gonna sleep with you and your wife? Is it
yeah, we plan all that out, yeah.
It's worked out.
Yeah, but then the actual positions and everything is kind of spur of the moment. We had a girl on the other day, this Italian chick with the biggest I've ever seen.
Real?
A real which I could not believe when she said it was real, but because she had such a tiny waist, and then she revealed that she had lipo on her waist but didn't put any of the fat, which is what most of the girls do these days. And she said that her number one thing on OnlyFans is that guys want to do face sitting. They want her to do videos where she basically simulates sitting on their face, and she said she was really good at it and was able to keep a seal around your breathing facilities.
Right,
and
right.
She did it to me, and she actually like could have killed me for sure.
Because so you're saying that her seal, the seal that she said was foolproof, wasn't actually foolproof.
No, it was like she was holding my arms down and were just like covering my whole face to the point where I don't think I would have been able to shove her off of me even if I had tried. Yeah.
What's this young lady's name?
Was it Gia Cabrazia? I'll probably get her name wrong. Cabrazia is her last name.
Okay.
Super hot.
And what has been the other moments on Plug Talk that stand out? Because that's, I mean, right there, that's like a mountaintop moment. Is that the mountaintop moment on Plug Talk, or would you say there's like, what would you say the other like the mountaintop moments of Plug Talk have been?
God, there's just like a few girls that we've shot with that don't shoot anymore. That realistically, like one of them had a whole thing, got married, had a kid, yada yada, and I'm never gonna be able to fuck her again. And that just really stands out to me as like, wow, that's a real moment in time right there.
Who was that?
It was this girl, Kelly K.
Okay, and she was a famous porn star?
She's not like super famous, but she's like popping on Instagram and everything.
Okay.
It's actually way more complicated than I just made it sound, but yeah, like that just stands out anytime you get to shoot with a girl and then she's out the game and you're
Right.
like, I'm never going to be able to recapture that.
I got you.
Maybe nobody will.
Right. It's like I played with Kobe and he's no longer here, or after he retired, I played against Jordan and that's it.
Yeah.
What would be the other one?
I don't know. There's been a few girls on there that really just shocked me beyond belief at their throat abilities, particularly Carmen Karma and Adriana Chechik, where that was just a moment with me where it's like I saw the mountaintop and I just realized like this is not something I ever would have experienced if I had remained a normal guy.
Their throat game is insane.
Insane. Like additional compartments that unlock as it inserts itself.
And this is all happening with your wife.
Yeah.
And you have a kid.
Yeah.
How old is your kid?
2.5.
2.5-year-old girl or boy?
Girl.
Okay, we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
All right, we jumped right into that. But I'm more, before I get into the sex, the scandals, and the craziness and the Crip Mac of it all, and all that stuff. You have accumulated like close to or more than 1.5 billion views on YouTube with all the stuff.
I haven't looked in a while. It's probably something like that, yeah.
And did you ever imagine that podcasting for you, did you ever imagine that YouTubing for you would take it this far?
Definitely not, because 2006 I started this BMX website, and up till that before that I had been kind of like a low-level criminal / BMX rider / online poker player, just kind of trying all these different things, trying to figure out how I was going to make a solid amount of money, and then at some point I started this BMX website because that's what I had been doing for like 10 years at that point.
That was your thing?
Yeah, like since I was like 12 years old. BMX bikes. I was obsessed with the media side of it as well as the actual bike riding in terms of magazines and DVDs and everything like that. Just obsessed with the street culture of BMX. So at some point in 2006, I'm looking at all these BMX or all these hip hop websites that were popping up around the time, the blogs and stuff like Now Right and Two Dope Boys, etc. I was so inspired by that. I said, oh, there's nobody doing anything close to similar in the BMX world, but I know everything about BMX, so maybe I could do this. I start that website. Within like a year, I'm probably the most well-known media personality in the BMX space, and then that basically defined the next 10 years of my life. And then in like 2015, I was just around a lot of people who were going to like underground rap shows and just being around all these porn stars and smaller clothing brands and stuff like that. And it occurred to me at one point, like, oh, I'm really like close to a lot of people now who would be amazing interviews. And I was a big Joe Rogan fan. I was a Joe Budden fan. I was listening to, Combat Jack, rest in peace. But it occurred to me like these people are never going to interview all these people that I'm around. So I started to kind of seize upon that and interview all these smaller underground rappers and stuff. And then that just kind of, I just kept doing whatever I could to keep the ball rolling, and here we are.
What was the first rapper or the first interview that you did outside of BMX that sort of got attention?
Well, there's this dude, Xavier Wolf, that I was kind of friends with at the time.
Who's that?
It's like an underground rapper.
Okay.
And I did an interview with him real early on, and that was a crazy revelatory moment for me because all of a sudden all of these hip-hop kids knew about me and were huge fans of it. And then what made it even crazier for me was that there's another underground rapper named Puya, this little white kid from Florida, and he hit me up like on the strength of that interview, like, I want you to do my first interview. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is actually gonna snowball. Like, I'm gonna keep getting more and more opportunities. And then I started to really go out of my way to get more opportunities. Like, I remember somebody sent me a flyer, and it was Gangsta Boo, rest in peace. It was her birthday at Black Bar in Hollywood, and I said, oh, if I go to this thing, then I could probably meet her. I go there, I get a photo with her, I tag her in the photo, I DM her. All of a sudden, she's messaging me back like, hey, it was nice to meet you. I get her on the interview, and to me, that was like, well, I just interviewed somebody from 3 6 Mafia. Now I can do whatever the I want. Like, I'm going to keep this ball rolling. And then I used the fact that I had a Gangsta Boo interview to get a Zero interview and to get like just all these different artists. And I would just be, just sitting in my room, just researching them all day before the interview and then bang out a couple of them at night. And I really got a reputation for not only interviewing a lot of these underground rappers early on, but also just having a crazy work ethic and just talking to like way more people than the average podcaster.
And what was your, because podcasting, you've been doing it for a while. I've been doing it for a while. It's now like where it's almost like, to me, it's like, it's almost like a MySpace page. Like everybody, whether it's entertainment is obviously the most of it. It's entertainment. And I put everything under that umbrella. Entertainment, sports, music. And there's like, there's podcasts about everything. There's people that have podcasts that 4 people listen to, that have 70,000 people listen to. When you were doing this podcast, was your agenda to make money? Was your agenda to build a brand? Like what did you want to, how old were you at this? How old are you now?
I'm 39 right now. And I guess in 2015, I would have been 32 or so.
Were you looking to make money? Like what was your thought process with podcast?
So I became, like I said, one of the biggest media personality in that BMX world very, very quickly. And I remember being like 22, 23 years old.
Oh, so it was back then.
But that was when I started the website. But I remember looking at myself and thinking, you just kind of accomplished the most that you could possibly expect to ever accomplish in this relatively small space. Mm-hmm. So then I spent, 10 years doing that kind of content, and at a certain point, it really started to occur to me that, like, I do have a fan base in this space, but it's going to be very, very difficult for me to break out of this space. Like, how do I do stuff that's more mainstream or where I'm able to have conversations with rappers? Like, to even do a interview with a popular rapper to me at that time was a total pipe dream that I had no clue I was actually going to be able to, obtain. And I see this all the time. I'm super into the poker world, and I know tons of people with popular poker podcasts, but they all have a very similar mentality of like, well, how do I break out of this and do something bigger? And it's really hard when you're in that small niche.
There's big poker podcasts?
Yeah, relatively speaking.
But people talk about poker?
I think the bigger ones tend to be more about the drama and the characters involved rather than like, well, this is the appropriate opening range from the big blind, so I don't know. I mean, to me, the biggest thing about it was not just the fact that I was excited to document, rappers, because that's one of the main interests that I had for my whole life. But like the idea that, I'm going to be able to do something that's going to take me outside of this relatively small box that I've been working in. And
as far as money, it's been talked about, like, that your company and all this stuff is worth. Like, do you talk about that? Like, how much is it speculated that, like, you've accumulated money? Like, how much money that No Jumper has made, Plug Talk and all this stuff you bought? Is this real? Like, is it for real? Like, when you bought your wife?
That was a troll.
Car?
That was fake. Yeah.
The foreign, like, that's shit.
I'm not.
What's your story? Like, I'm like, what's your fucking deal? Like, what is your deal? And like, in terms of like, what is your obviously we all like making money, but like, what do you like what do you want out of this whole thing? Like podcasting, being a name, being a brand, like what do you want out of all of this?
I mean, I would definitely say I'd like to make enough money that at some point I could just do whatever the on and not have to do anything. But I'm not into any like fancy stuff. That's why anybody who knows us, when they saw that thing of me buying the Lambo truck for my girl or whatever, I would never have a car like that. She would never have a car like that. We're not really into like material possessions or anything. You know, on our biggest paydays or like the days where we've made the most money, we'll have conversations about like the fact that we think it's funny that we can't think of anything that we would want to spend that money on, because I'm not into jewelry. I'm not into clothes. I'm not into like cars, anything like that. So making money is cool. I would say that I'm more just concerned with like enjoying my lifestyle on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But in terms of like fancy, I'm not into it.
And when I was on your podcast, the No Jumper podcast, I kept making jokes and asking you if your style was buck wild, which is the term that I always use on this podcast. I say my style is buck wild.
Like that.
I was referring to the fact that you do pornos, no-nos.
Uh-huh.
When did that happen? Did it happen after the BMX podcast? Like, and how does that work?
So when I met my now wife, Lena, I met her right in 2016, right around the time that No Jumper really started to get popular. And at the time, she had just found out about OnlyFans, which was brand new at the time. And so she, wanted to do it.
She had never done it.
She had never done it, but she was starting to gain some steam online from people just thinking she was hot or whatever. She had some followers or whatever, and people were asking her to make one. And I remember she made it, and she made like $30,000 in the first month, which I had no idea this was possible or anything. And so she starts asking me like, are you down to film some shit for my OnlyFans? And I was into it, like, yeah, I'll hook up with you and your friend for OnlyFans. And then that just kind of kept going over the years. And then at some point,
what's the most she made from her OnlyFans in a month off of one of these joints?
I probably should not say, but I would say that she's had, 7-figure months over the years.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And this month particularly has got to be a big month.
It's definitely the biggest month for
Full
sure.
transparency. I signed up for OnlyFans before this interview to see this no.
Wow.
With your wife. This is weird. With your wife
yeah.
and Jason Love.
Jason.
And the funny thing is my wife, she does the bill. She was like, what the an OnlyFans? And I said, remember I told you that I'm going to interview Adam Toe? She was like, yeah. Because she was like, what the is going on here?
Wow.
So, because it's like church and state, like you, and I'm sure it's like church and state, because you and your wife probably are just regular, your parents, you're regular people.
Yeah.
And then you have this persona, which you've earned, and it's like this, with when it comes to pornos, when it comes to no-nos, when it comes to showing off your style, it's a whole other thing. And, at some point, your kid probably will go to private school.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to be like, that's the guy, and that's the, it's a whole thing that, I'm sure you guys have thought about an end game out of it. But just to let you know, full transparency, I had to watch the video. But in terms of you and doing pornos, have you done pornos outside of doing them with your wife?
There's only one time where we did a Plug Talk episode where my girl was sick and I had to go bang the girl by myself. Definitely I could, but it just hasn't really like risen to the occasion, hasn't seemed important enough. I've thought about starting an OnlyFans where I just, do scenes just myself and other girls, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily the best use of my time because my schedule's pretty packed up with No Jumper stuff and Plug Talk stuff. And sometimes I will have weeks where I have to 6-7 different girls throughout the course of the week, and it's kind of draining, literally. And it just is not, I don't know, it's fun, it's always fun, but it's also just, what am I doing? Like, am I just going to do this for the rest of my life? Is this really, I don't know. There's something about doing an interview with somebody and putting it out on YouTube that feels definitely different to me than having sex with somebody and filming it and putting it out on OnlyFans. Like, I don't know, but I've done a little bit of that, but not much.
God, that's way out there, man. That's way the fuck. That's why I'm like, what the you do? Because like when I talk to him, I'm like, this dude's chilling all that, but I see you online,
yeah,
and I'm like, it's like almost like we're all personas of ourselves. Mm-hmm. All of us. I don't care who it is.
You'd be a little bit different off camera, right?
Of course.
You're a little bit more high energy when you're doing this. It just, it's
people come up to me. They're like, what's up, Mike Rapp? And I'm like, I'm just drinking. It's 7.
Yeah.
7 in the morning, man.
Right.
But you just said where you'll have to have sex with 6 or 7 women in a week. And when you're going through your schedule, you're like, okay, well, I have, podcasts with, Joe Schmo Rapper. I have, maybe I have to take my kid to get a doctor, take him to the doctor. I have 6 podcasts where you're going to shoot sex scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying like that must be fun, because I know at a certain point there's got to be like where like it's almost got to be. Does it feel like work in a way?
I mean, it feels like work, but it also feels like,
Like,
wow,
does your mind wander when you're having sex with a random stranger?
Sometimes I try to let my mind wander because you don't want to be too focused on the extremely arousing image that you have in front of you.
But does it become arousing, or is it just the sense? It's like, is it almost like back in the gym again?
Nah, it's always really fun. Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. Like, even like when I'm in the gym, I'm not really enjoying it. I'm doing it because I feel like I have to do
Right.
it. I don't get that feeling when I'm doing porn. When I'm doing porn, I'm always thankful to be there. It's just sometimes when I have to do 6 in a week, I'm still thankful to be there, but it also is just a little overwhelming. It's like, wow, I'm looking forward to Friday where I don't have to do any more of these, even though I am always enjoying it in the moment. I also did one recently where I was like getting sick in the middle of it and the AC was broken. And that was a moment where I was like, okay, I am not really enjoying this, which is rare.
Did you say like, oh, I'm getting like, how does it work? You walk into a room. Let's just say you and me, pause.
Yeah.
Let's say like just like it is. So we're like, so you set it up. It's like, there's a girl. Like, is it almost like doing a like how does it work? Like when you're doing a porno, like a no, like it's not happening spontaneously, and are the cameras moving? And when you're doing them, are the cameras are they stationary, or are there people holding the cameras moving? And how did are like, oh, Adam, lift your leg. Oh,
He doesn't direct me. We have one filmer who, I've worked with through the whole time doing.
You
this.
know the angles.
Sometimes I'll tell him like, hey, move over here. Like he's not like his background isn't in porn. Sometimes when we shoot, I want to like have a filmer who's a little bit more porn specific, but our guy, he does a good solid job. But yeah, sometimes, you got to tell him like, hey, like the better angle is over here or whatever. But yeah, we sit down, we have a space and we sit down, we interview the girl for 20, 30 minutes. And then we take a short break so that they could go in the bathroom and make sure that they're ready to go. And then we snap into it and we do the porn part.
But you say that like it's just like, okay, but is it like, it's just so bugged out to me. Like, and also I'm older, like I'm 53 now. So like, it's not as like, I don't have as much of a drive as when I was younger, but like to me, like I'm shy, like as much as I'm like talking and like I'm comfortable talking on camera, like as far as like doing that, like it just seems so bugged out, especially with your wife who you have an on-camera and off-camera relationship with. Mm-hmm. Like, is it a mentality? Like, is it almost like a fighter mentality?
I think we're both used to the mentality of you're trading your time for money. So whatever I'm doing, like, I'm going and doing a vlog in a Mexican neighborhood tonight with a rapper who's going to show us around where he was raised or whatever. And
Who's the rapper?
Swifty Blue.
Okay.
But I'm going there just to do this because I think it'll be fun. I want to get to know this guy better. It'll be some good content. It'll make however much money on YouTube or whatever. To me, it doesn't feel any different than going and doing the sex scene because it's like either way, I'm just going to go have a good time. It'll make money. That's how everything works for us. And at this point, we were kind of desensitized to the sex part so much that it doesn't really.
You and your wife.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that different. Like of the whole time that we've been doing Plug Talk, is only maybe been like once or twice where I felt any kind of tinge of jealousy, or I felt like she was in any way like bothered by anything. And I feel like the only time that really comes to mind is we shot with this one girl who was like really, really skinny. And I feel like she felt like I was enjoying it a lot. And my girl's like a little bit thicker with the big butt and the boobs and whatnot. So I think that she maybe felt a little bit inadequate in that moment. But that was like a brief moment.
Now, when I was thinking about interviewing you and talking about this porn, I was trying to like imagine myself in the situation. Now, if you're with a woman, I don't care if it's like, just you and her by yourself, you and your wife by yourself. There's always times when it's like, almost like, the only thing I could equate it to is sports. Let's say we're playing pickup basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
right? or you bust my ass in basketball. Like if you're having sex with a girl, like like where she's like, there's just like eye contact, moans, sounds. Like, is there a connection when you're having sex on camera with the girls?
Some girls are like that. Some girls are kind of mechanical where it doesn't feel like they get into it emotionally at all. And then sometimes there will be a girl who just the way she looks at me, or she'll be grabbing me, kissing me, like, holding me like while I'm like, as opposed to some girls, they wouldn't even think about like wrapping their arms around you.
Right.
And then some girls like really are holding on, or if they're staring you in the eyes. But then also in the back of your head, you're thinking, is she staring me in the eyes because she thinks it's going to look good on camera, or is she staring me in the eyes because she's actually feeling something with me right now? But even of all the girls, hundreds of girls on camera over the past couple of years.
Hundreds of girls?
Yeah.
God damn.
But I've never felt anything more than just like some cool friendship type shit.
No shit. Yeah, that's some cool friendship type shit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're having sex on camera. That's cool friendship shit.
Yeah.
Have you guys had girls that have never done on camera stuff before?
They've always done like OnlyFans type stuff. We've never had a girl who was just starting from scratch, but yeah, like there's this one girl, Sky Bree, who is definitely the biggest breakout star of 2022. And I met her very early on when she had like 3,000 followers, and we signed her to a management deal, and we proceeded to blow her the up. And she actually just has made the most absurd amounts of money on OnlyFans over the past couple years. And that was an example of somebody, she had never had a threesome before me and my girl. And, yeah, that's an example of somebody who had never shot with like a real filmer or anything. But always the girls will have done OnlyFans with their boyfriend or whatever it is before that.
And so you guys manage her?
Yeah.
So you and your wife now have a porno management? Like, are you managing like singers?
No. This is a management company that we started that, if we meet a girl who wants to work with us in that capacity where she wants us to help.
So you'll help navigate her
in,
career and the YouTubing of it all?
Yeah.